Hello, and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your Daily Bite of Degen, episode number 732, coming to you live from somewhere, nowhere, Dallas, Texas. Yay! Oh my gosh, do that all as I have seen the countryside and far side of Texas today. Driving 3 hours out of my way to go and get a driver's license because the next appointment in my area is not until 2025. We have an amazing guest joining us today from Wire Network. We have Magnus, the one and only Magnus, joining us. And I have known this gentleman for about a year, right over a year now. Been seeing his big boss, Kent, for a minute. The team has been really cool building things out. And as our ecosystems sort of collide, when you're doing good shit, and you do like the two biggest things of blockchain, you are transparent and you're consistent, you tend to sort of group together and you tend to sort of like hang out more. And then you start to see your ecosystem start to merge. And that is one of the really cool things that Wire Network is really trying to do. Oh my gosh, you hear my horrible laundry sound in the background. I apologize. I'm trying to be a clean degen and do laundry. But no longer delayed. Magnus, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, brother. It's doing good.
I'm doing real. I'm good. Did you have thank you so much for joining us today. I could talk about Wire. I could probably do a decent job of your job, but not do any of talking about Wire, of pitching it. But when then someone would be like, ask me a technical question, I'd be like, let me call Magnus. But you guys lay out a lot of documentation and make it really easy for people to digest what you're doing. That's the only reason why I say I could talk about what you're doing, is because you put out such great documentation. What is Wire Network?
Yeah, Taco, appreciate it. So, Wire Network is a lot of things. It means a lot of things to me. It holds a very dear place in my heart. As far as the mission goes these days, one of the things that we've been saying is all chains, no gas, right now on Wire. So, if you think about interoperability, you think about the issues that come with that. When you think about the issues that come around bridging, we work to solve those issues. And then the other thing that we've been able to do is we've noticed there's a lot of pain points with Ethereum gas fees. A lot of great projects, that they don't have liquidity to Ethereum, or they don't have access to Ethereum, then their projects have very little liquidity. So if you have a PFP or NFT that's worth less than the amount that it costs to transfer on Ethereum, then you're not going to be incentivized to do so. So we want to get blockchain into a spot where software could really enter the space. And for that to happen, it has to be cheap enough to do so, and it has to be fast enough to do so. So I think we're working to solve those problems, which are very big. So the biggest claim that we make is accessibility to all chains without the use of a centralized bridge. So that's very important. And the other thing that's really important is to say that we're able to obfuscate Ethereum gas fees. So that's really big. We do that through our node structure, which we can get into at any point during this talk. But yeah, man, that's the things that we're working on. As far as like who we are, we're a couple of interesting folks from different kinds of backgrounds, and we've all come together. And I think if you interview anyone on our team, it'll be easy to say that we came together for the vision. The vision of, hey, like we made it into a mission statement that we build trustless and open source systems to enable individual sovereignty. And I think when I first came on, it wasn't as well defined, but the spirit was always there. Like having to learn about Linux, open source operating systems, learning why that's important, learning about things that I never knew about. As much as I talk about Wire and I talk about blockchain, it's been a relatively recent pivot in my life. I think that it was really just the idea of being a part of something that shifts the world forever. And that may sound a little cheesy, but the way it was explained to me, because I wasn't a part of obviously, I'm not nearly old enough to have been a part of like the dot-com boom or the Industrial Revolution or any of these things that were really big levers in society. And I kind of felt like, what is the next frontier that's going to be exciting that I can dedicate another 10 to 15 years to? Um, and when I sat down with Kyle, who's our CTO, he was someone I really respect and in the software space for a long time. He told me that there has been several great shifts in blockchain, and the first one being Bitcoin. Of course, I'm assuming everyone that's listening is familiar with Bitcoin. The decentralization of money backed by math. That's a really cool concept. And then we had a liquidity event where Ethereum was created, and that's really cool and important. And but all of the money was in Bitcoin. So MakerDAO allowed for us to have that liquidity move from Bitcoin to Ethereum with Rapidcoin. So that was really cool. And now we're kind of in this in between stage where we have several amazing people working on health solutions, people that are trying to figure out like created other different chains. And really the next solution is how do we make blockchain and crypto usable for the average person? Like, we have to tackle the UX experience. There's just so much that an average person needs to learn, and me being one of those average people that needed to learn to be able to transact, and you get so nervous, getting the addresses right and trying to send the money, and then you're waiting for it to pend, and you gotta make sure you're sending the ETH on the right network. So there's a lot of learning curve there. And when people say, I want to have a Web2-like experience in Web3. I believe what they're really saying is, I want to be able to only see my inputs, only see what I need to put in, but not see all of the sophistication that happens in the background. And I don't want to, because it makes people nervous to transact money, and there's all these extra steps. You would just rather have a third-party trusted system or person do that for you. But that's kind of like going against what we stand for here. We had and I'm getting a little long-winded here, but we had a space the other day, and it was about open sourcing and why that's important. And the reason why open sourcing is important is it's the path for freedom. In the information age, in a technologically advanced age, like everything we do is online. Everything we do involves the internet, involves technology, and you can't really get away from it if you want to move forward. So having that technology has been one of the longest levers in all of society, and you can look at anything that's technologically been created and directly linked to an advancement in society. It's really important that that future comes down to the individual instead of just a handful of selects. So that's really what open sourcing is about, is a pathway for freedom. So I believe that's really important. I stand by freedom. I'm on team freedom. So I think that's really important. So yeah, I think that what we stand for here, what we're working on is bringing the mass adoption to actually happen. Because as amazing as it is when we go, I know you go to all the conferences, but as I go to some of the conferences, seeing the amount of people get excited about Web3 is very interesting. But even at this point, it's still an early adopter stage. If you are someone who holds even any amount of crypto in your wallet, you are one of the few. So I think this is a technology that needs to be democratized and shared. So I'm very interested in being a part of anything that really allows for that to happen. So that's a little bit about our company, about who's involved in our company. Ken DeCross is our CEO, has been in this space for a very long time and has suffered through many of the user experiences. And a lot of his pain points are what drive this company forward. He says, I don't want anyone to feel this way or be discouraged. It was only his extreme desire to have a part of the math-backed gold that really forced him to, before there was an OpenSea in like 2017, during all this time where there's no um, UX to be able to buy something and you have to go through all these different loopholes. only a few people were willing to go through those loopholes that saw the value in what we were doing. So a lot more people are able to access Web3 technology today, and decentralized AI being a part of that. But I believe that we still have much work to do, and I'm very excited to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, man, you left a lot there for me to unpack.
Yeah,
So I'm going to ask for shorter answers next time so we can tackle each one and not leave anything to the side. No, don't listen to me. Feel it. If we are here for the next, my longest show so far has been 12 hours. Can we
wow.
beat that? That is the question. Um, I don't think we want to because I know we both have a ton on our plate to get ready. I'm leaving Thursday for Korea and you're leaving Monday?
Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah. So like I know we are both in cram mode right now work-wise cuz um so I want to roll back a lot on what you said because you touched on a lot of good points. Biggest one I want to talk on, we did have that space, a little bit ago that was like on the power of not just decentralized but open source.
Mhm.
And one, the difference between the two, ownership, among many, and then uh, and then with the decentralized part, the ownership among many, and the open source side, the many among ownership. I guess you could break it down to. So with open source, anyone can see what the code is, can be part of it, can um, join in and participate at a code level. Now, yes, it does give a disadvantage piece to those that can do work with code and those that can't, but it's out there that anyone can take a snapshot of it and they can figure out what it's doing, right?
For sure.
And so like we talked about sort of how, like especially on the AI side of things, the openness, um open source, being able to see what's happening behind the veil, what the wizard is doing, so to speak, or what the guardrails are that are in place for the wizard. Because we believe that we're in a permissionless and trustless world, that we should be able to understand that code, we command code to do something, it will do it. That's the whole idea between, and no one else needs to authorize it or approve it, and no nefarious actor can censor it. But open source allows us to see the biasness that AI might have, the guardrails or the commands that it's been pointed to, like, and I use this a lot just to sort of get out of any negativity side of things and the deep side of things, but like Chevy, you know. So if it keeps pointing you towards Chevy cars, even though you're asking it about Fiats and Fords, maybe there might be some biasness there if it's like a Chevy owned AI agent, And so we're seeing a lot of great talks there of building in the open as well and talking about what's being built in the open. So I I you guys are working towards something, an open state right now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you have an announcement on Thursday.
Yes, we do.
So that's the alpha. You haven't told anyone else yet that the announcement's Thursday, right?
Correct. I hinted at it a little bit on our space last week, but definitely I haven't spoken to very many people about it, and we have a very exciting X Space this Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
What is the alpha? What information are you going to be giving out Thursday?
Oh, we're going to be laying out some things roadmap wise that's going to be really big. I kind of feel like Tom Holland when they're interviewing him about the Spider-Man movie, and the whole cast is on edge because they don't want him to give any spoilers. It might best to, not get the hook come out and then like dragged off stage. But A lot of things on our roadmap that we've basically been working on this for 4 years very diligently,
Hmm.
and, I've been blessed to be surrounded by very intelligent individuals that are able to put together this system, and we're gonna be talking about what is to come, and so it's a last week was like an announcement of an announcement. We're going to talk about what is to come with Wire Network. We're going to talk about some hard dates that we're going to be releasing. We're going to be talking about some cool backstory that people don't really know, but it was like a private conversation between some of our C level and someone who's very important and dear to us. That's going to be a huge guest on Thursday, and
No, not me. Not me.
you are very important and dear to me, Taco. So
Yes.
but yeah, there's gonna be a huge announcement around our tech and around what we're building and around roadmaps and timelines. So a lot of things are gonna be dropped on Thursday. So I would definitely stay tuned for it.
All right. So we've talked about the abstract side of things. We've talked a little bit about like the morality of it all. Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the technology side of things. The idea of wire network is to being able to transact on any chain, but not be burdened by gas.
Hmm.
You know, or yeah, a universal wallet, so to speak, as well. So you guys have started that with like two different naming services, where anyone can be able to get to any EVM address and
Hmm.
then any Solana SVM address at the same time.
Hmm.
So what's the scratch the surface explanation on that, on how you guys do that?
Yeah. So traditionally, the way a bridge works is you have, something on this side, something on this side, and I'm going to keep it pretty high level and even maybe for my sake as well. And in between, you have something called an oracle, and this oracle is the centralized part of the bridge. And now, it is a system that is created. I have nothing against the system that was created, and it is but it is something that has been hacked for north of $5 billion. So a lot of money has been lost in that way, and it comes from the whole idea that you're having an asset leave the chain, and then it's getting locked up, and then you're creating wrapped versions that parody that asset and have value because of the locked asset. So at any point in time, if those get hacked, then lots of money can be drained from them, which is a big problem. We want to. It is a trustless environment, but we do want to keep the trust of the people, and as far as Web3 goes. So
Mhm.
one of the really important ideas and concepts was okay, well, native assets should not leave their chain. So that's something that's really big that we've done in our interoperability is that we keep the native token on its native chain. And okay, well then how do you manage that? Is what we had a lot of different names for it, but a lot of the naming conventions come around the word universal because it's a big problem that we're solving, universal standardization, universal liquidity. And in this case, we're talking about a universal transaction layer where settlement is defined. So essentially, you become your own oracle is very important. So all you have to do in this case is you identify this is my wallet, regardless of where the wallet chain is originally set, like which chain it's from or for. So this is my wallet and this is my wire account. And then you provide authority linked to there, so then that was the centralized part is that you are the oracle. So rather than it being later down the process, it happens in the very beginning. So then now you deposit your asset into a smart contract that's locked up. And it's really important because people say, do I need to have trust for wire network or all these kind of things? Everything that we have created follows our mission statement, which is everything is trustless. So everything is done by smart contracts. There is no centralized part of this workflow. So you deposit upon yourself. So now you have money in your UTL from your UTL account. And then now you're able to transact interoperably with anything else that's in the UTL. And then upon finality, you have basically a settlement. And then the smart contracts release where they need to go. So that's really important. Us, it's like we're talking about financial transactions. So simply put, that's pretty much how the UTL works. The other part that's really important is the idea of a universal wallet. When you first join on, the first thing you do in Web3 is you get a wallet, and then you realize shortly, like I was having a conversation with a friend, and BNB was looking really good, and I said maybe you would want to look into BNB. And the individual had a Ethereum-based wallet and could not get BNB without getting a wallet that supports it. So that process, that the way that that works right now is pretty cumbersome. So the idea is you have a wallet that speaks to you. You're like, this is my wallet. I like this wallet. I like the system. I like the UI. And you're able to use that wallet to transact with all blockchains. So yeah, so we're starting with all EVMs and then quickly moving on to different Solana wallets as well as other ones that are coming down the road. We are very blessed to have very good developers on our team. So very excited about that.
Yeah. You guys
Pretty
have gone through like a yeah, and so I'm gonna sort of break this down. Tell me if I'm saying this right, so people can sort of understand this in a different way.
sure.
One of the things that a lot of people hate about centralized exchanges is that all of the transactions that might happen, all the orders that happen instantaneously, none of them are on chain. They're just paper trades, basically.
Hmm.
You know, you have centralized addresses to where like I might have, you know, like depending on the chain, I might have 10 different addresses that I need that are non-EVM that I need to like send assets to. But they all show up in one dashboard. And
Hmm.
so that's what you guys are sort of looking at as your wire network wallet. All my assets, doesn't matter what chain, what network, they're in one universal view, right?
Yeah.
So far?
So you can basically say it'll be a similar experience, but the main difference is that it's decentralized versus centralized.
True, exactly. And so the other aspect of it is if I'm trading with other people or sending assets to other people, they actually the transactions themselves happen on Wire's blockchain. So they will be recorded on chain,
Hmm.
but they
Correct.
happen at such an instantaneous speed. It's just like paper trading on an exchange.
Yeah, it's very fast. So we
Yeah.
developed our own custom chain for that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that the important thing, let me try to think here. Yeah, I think you pretty much covered it. I wouldn't change much of what your experience. I think that if we're trying to talk about main takeaway, uh, get buried in nuances, seeing a dashboard allows you to see all your assets and you can transact as you would in a centralized environment. Although in this instance, it's decentralized, which is very important.
Yeah. And it's happening on chain. So like I could technically, like, let's say I have ETH or and I then, get it as wire ETH, but I want you to end up with Solana, with Sol.
Hmm.
So I can send that to you and it would end up to you as Sol.
Yeah, correct. So the other important thing is what this technology will open up for marketplaces as well. So imagine you go to the marketplace and it has basically all assets from all chains, and then you're able to buy anything you want in any currency that you hold.
Mhm.
Then the recipient receives what they would like. So, I mean, when we do parity with how the financial systems work currently, that's not too unusual. Like when we go to Korea, I don't need to open a Korean bank account to start to transact in Korea. I can swipe my Visa or MasterCard and they'll do the calculations there for me. It'll say, do you want to pay in USD or do you want to pay in KRW, Korean won? And you'll just, pick the one that you think is best, and then it'll just happen, and then you get the item, and things are just the rest of the day carries on. And right now, that's not the case in blockchain.
All right. A travel tip. What I have found when I'm in visiting other countries and you tap to pay, you pick the local currency. That way, your bank will automatically pay it at that rate without doing the conversion if you pick the USD. So you save a little bit of money.
That is
That's a
true.
tip.
I always pick the local currency where I'm at.
Yeah. So I've never been to Korea. So KRW is the what is it? The
Korean.
Korean.
Oh, I'm sorry, KRW. I thought you said KBW, Korean Blockchain Week. KRW is just Korean. KR is Korea. Then W is one, which is our, or I said R because my nationality is United States or American, but I descended from Korea. Ethnically Korean, yes.
You're Korean. You're American Korean. You're Korean. It doesn't matter. Oh, I got you. I'm
Yeah,
picking up what you're putting down. Okay, so it's the one. Is that like WAN or WON?
WON.
WON. Okay, cool. What's the current conversion rate of $1 to won?
It's
One.
like it's like 75 cents in USD is about $1 in Korean won. Something that's really misleading about being in Korea is we don't use the decimal place. So you'll see something like 1,001, but that's how we view $1. So it's not like we view that as $1,000, but we just use the last three zeros to in place of the decimal point.
Okay. So if I see 1,000, that just means one.
Yeah, so you're getting a 25% discount from USD to Korean won.
I heard that I am going to get so fat eating street food.
Yeah, so in Asia in general, the way that hawker stands work, there's a good restaurant in Orlando called Hawker, and hawker comes from the term where they hawk at you. They'll like be like, "Hey, come eat the food."
Mhm.
Korean food is really good. We have a very deep relationship with food. Um, like instead of saying, "Hi, how are you? How have you been?" We would say something along the lines of, "Have you eaten yet?" And it's very rare to eat by yourself in Korea. It's seen as almost taboo. You want to be eating with friends and a meal is being shared. So definitely food is very deep in our culture. Not that long ago, we were a starving nation. And so the relevance of food and, one of my great grandfather was in a little bit better position than other people. So that being said, like a wealthy family was someone back then was somebody that could afford to eat meat. And when you go to Korea, you'll see that there's a lot of stews and soups. And the reason being is it practically makes much more sense if you have 8 people in your family and you put the meat into the soup and the bones into the soup, and then you're able to share that among a lot more people. So even to this day, people are hold food very dear to their heart in Korea. So you'll tend to see a lot of love and care that in the food that is made. So absolutely, definitely pig out. You may not gain that much weight though, because it's very healthy living in Korea. The food is quite healthy, and you also tend to walk a lot. Like I love walking, but in America, walking is a little
Taboo.
less realistic. Yeah, like, you just would never get anything done, but in Korea, the public transportation system is very efficient, and you can go completely across the city where, like, 25 million people live, and you just can go right across in 45 minutes using only public transportation. So, yeah, I would say that you may gain some, but not as much as you're thinking because of the amount of walking you'll be doing.
I'm excited. I run like I think like 8 walk to earn apps
Mhm.
and like different contests and stuff like that. And so I'm super excited to see how many steps I get because just during a conference, I'm hitting like 30,000 steps a day,
Yeah,
30
you
to
might.
50,000 steps. I'm
Yeah.
down. This is going to be fun. There's some huge AI conferences that Manifest is going to be there for. I'll be there for, and that we're going to have like there's a lot of cool stuff going on for KBW,
Mhm.
and then I get to hang out with you in Korea, and then I get to hang out with you in Singapore.
Yeah.
Man,
Singapore
Singapore.
too, one of my I think, like, top definitely in the top 5 favorite cities that I like to frequent. So, Singapore is very, close and dear to my heart as well. There's just I know a decent amount about Singapore as well, so if you wanna talk about that, we can do that as well.
Oh, definitely. Um, my, you know, I was my time in Singapore was really quick.
Mm,
I flew in. a day late because Austin airport security was just horrendous, and it took 3 hours to go through TSA's pre-check. I should have gone in normal security, and I would have made my flight, and I would have had a day of like having fun in Singapore. But got in the next day. Then I had 3 days of conference, and then half day of rest, and then hopping on a plane, getting out of there. But Arab Street was amazing. Chinatown, and then I was staying I was staying in Boat Quai, and just the amount of restaurants and food, different types of food. I found like an amazing little restaurant, and that became like my daily diner, and I tried to eat other places as well, just to spice up my life. But at least once a day, I ate at this little Indian restaurant. Just amazing. I'm a little bit of a fat kid, so I eat a lot. But I walk a lot too. So we'll see.
Yeah,
But
when you
all right.
Or I would definitely recommend a really good dish is called nasi lemak. Nasi lemak is done many different ways, but it's a combination of some type of protein and rice. And the way that the hawker station, there's like a government protected area where hawkers are, and some of those have been there for generations. And a lot of them are also Michelin star as well. But it's a very cool environment, and there's got to be maybe like 20 different stalls that serve nasi lemak, and also having like sugarcane juice, fresh is really good as well. There's a lot of different like nasi goreng, and there's a lot of different cultural foods because you have the Malaysians, and then you have Indians, and then you have the Chinese, and then you have a lot of expats, a lot of British expats. It is a financial hub, so you have this huge mix of culture in one very, very small city. So it's just like you can't go wrong eating anything. If you want to go more Chinese food, one of the things that is not so easy to get in the United States is chili crab. So chili crab is really delicious, and I would recommend that if you're big into seafood. Um, but yeah, I think that in general, it's going to be a lot of fun to hang out there, and people tend to be very nice. I can get off the airport, go to Clark. There's a lot of like bars and clubs that are open, so you go out, and it's people are super friendly. You'll leave the night with 20 new friends.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's super safe, and just like gotta follow the rules. Like there's yellow lines on the floor. If you step out of it and you're smoking, you might get a big fine. If you eat on the public transportation, you might get a big fine. Big fine being like $500 or north thereof.
Mhm.
So definitely follow the rules. If for any of those that are coming to Token 2049 in Singapore, follow the rules.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, it's very, very cool place.
Yeah, that was one thing that I started to notice a lot. And then like there was a deviation in some parts of the town where it was more tourist heavy. The
Hmm.
lines disappeared, and it was a little not looser, but like it wasn't crazy,
Hmm.
and so it's very interesting to sort of see. And then like Marina Bay Sands, that's the looking down on the electric forest, breathtaking view. Um, one of the things my kryptonite is seafood.
Is
So
what?
is seafood. That is my kryptonite. If you wish to kill taco, it is with seafood.
Well, you'll love Korea and Singapore because the seafood is very strong in both countries.
You want to kill me?
No,
No,
I think that you'll be perfectly fine.
no. Just as much as I found, just as much as there's seafood, there's a ton of different meat options galore. What's really cool, what was really cool in Singapore, is I visited a lot of different internet cafes, gaming cafes, you know, and I went and I talked with a bunch of them about Web3 gaming and stuff, and a lot of them were playing different Web3 games, And so one of the big aspects that I see Wire Network sort of providing a service for at some level is for Web3 gaming to be able to have all of their transactions happen on blockchain, you know? And so that like not just one aspect of the game is on chain, but multiple aspects of the game are on chain for later on. And I sort of see you guys providing the infrastructure for not just transactions and assets, but for like, you know, gaming infrastructure as well. And so I think you guys are putting yourself in a really good spot technology wise in
Yep.
a needed system so that I can have an asset on this chain, I can have an asset on that chain, I can buy an asset from that chain, and I sort of hold it all in one, but then I can play this game and do whatever I want with it.
Yeah, exactly. So the immediate excuse me, the immediate benefit with Wire is that you'll be able to have for any kind of DApp really, but gaming is really what takes the spotlight with these DApps. Is you'll be able to have an asset on one chain and play a game with the same asset on another chain without creating a duplicate or burning mint function or anything like that. The other really cool thing is when we were building our blockchain, one of the cool things about having a very high TPS and very flexible blockchain is the idea about gaming, like, MMORPGs or anything like this, where you're having or even like, let's take a first-person shooter game, and you're imagining that every step, every because a lot of these games are very high they have very high stakes. There's a big prize at the end. So, they take a lot of measures to make sure no one's cheating, but one way to know that people are cheating is to have every action be a transaction on chain. So, the way that you do that is one of the ways that you can do that is a peer-to-peer function, where if I'm in a game, if I'm in what do they call that? A not a stance, a anyway, if I'm in an instance with another person and we're doing a peer-to-peer function here, and let's say every action that I'm doing is being rolled into a bundle and rolled up on chain at a later period in time, then you'll be able to see every action ever committed during the whole game history. And then that'll be a really good way to prove that, hey, that this player did not cheat, or you'll be able to see like, oh yes, that person definitely did shoot that person before the other person shot at the other person, and you'll be able to clearly determine the winner. So
Yeah.
that's really important to be able to do that. And we talked about that in the early stages of development because we have a lot of people in our office that are very much into games. And we played all kinds of games like Ark, where like it's like a survival game where you're given nothing and you got to figure out the whole game. There's no manual and creating, open world situations like that is really cool. Something that's like 24/7, you don't log out, you gotta make sure you build a nice house for your, human and then be able to defend them, uh, and then get alerts if something is happening. So that's really cool and interesting. But yeah, definitely the whole idea around wired network is to create universal everything.
Yeah.
And that's like you can talk about anything like NFT marketplaces, talk about games, you can talk about exchanges, you can talk about liquidity, you can talk about trading, swapping, and anything that you currently do in Web3 will be able to provide a universal experience for that. And we've been working on the technology for a good amount of years now, 4 years in the making. And without spoiling Thursday, we were having some major announcements around the technology, and it's been our kind of like our coming out party.
What are you talking about on Thursday?
Hey, stop! I can't.
So one of the so I wanted to I focus on games a lot. And one of the really cool things I saw recently, um, say what you might about Cardano, it's still doing things. You know, there's still a lot of communities on it. But one of the things that people been sad about was the amount of data that could happen per transaction. You know, and how many transactions per second and stuff like that. One of the protocols within Cardano, they showcased it at Rare Evo, where I just was in Las Vegas. Huge shout out to the Rare Evo guys. Hydra had Doom, where every single frame was on chain.
Mm.
So, you know, every second, 36 frames per second was on chain. So they were doing 36 transact or 36 transactions per second with all of the data of the game up to that point, which was really sort of cool to showcase their compounded data structure, and proof of history type of thing, of gameplay. So you could sort of see, you guys have what a lot of people might not know. You have a really cool partnership brewing.
Correct.
With a really fun card game that people have been playing for a minute.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Splinterlands? Are we allowed to talk about how you're partnered with Splinterlands? Are we Splinterlands?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about Splinterlands.
Yes.
So Splinterlands is a game with 2 million active users, I believe, or 2 million total users. It's one of those. And they have a very large community. They have a very well-made card game that is on the Wax blockchain. And then the ability for them to have liquidity to Ethereum is going to mean a lot for the card holders, because an NFT in many ways is a collectible. So being able to liquidate a collectible if you desire to raises the value quite a bit. If you have something that's really hard to value, then it might be, or really hard to liquidate, that might be an issue. So yeah, I mean, I've spoken with the people over at Splinterlands a bunch of times, and they're a very good group of guys, and I think that it's going to be really big. I see a lot of shift in gaming. People are doing like poker games, NFT poker games. I was over at the first NFT poker game over in Las Vegas, so that was pretty cool. But really, what is really going to be cool to capture as we expand our ability in Web3 is that community aspect, because it's not just the ability to play a game that's really cool. Anytime I was introduced to a game, like I started playing League of Legends a long time ago for a bit, during like its earlier seasons, or any one of my introductions to PC games, every single time that I was brought into any kind of game, it was through a friend or through a family member. So I think capturing that part of the game is really important as well. And it's going to be a lot easier because the whole metaverse thing came and kind of like died down a bit. But the concept is very important because you're including the community aspect into all these interactions. So when you have that really nailed down well, and I think that with our technology, we can definitely be a part of that moving forward. You're gonna be able to create a much more exciting environment and a lot more users to come in and to play the game, because like every other Thursday at our office and here in the Bradenton, Sarasota area, we have a Magic night where we play Magic of the Gathering. I have my dice here for the counters, and I have my deck that was custom built. And
Ooh, what kind of deck are you playing with?
well, so everything was pieced together, but it's around this commander. So this commander is called Animar, and
Okay.
he's really
Full of
cool.
elements.
Yeah, so it's good elements, and like the green element is supposedly like the smooth brain deck, but I need that because I'm new to playing this game, and we have a lot of veterans in the office. So this one is very basically every time you cast a creature spell, you get a 1+1 um counter placed on Animal. So like he starts with 1/1
Yeah.
uh attack and health, but then it can scale up really quickly. I did not win last game, but I'm very hopeful for the next time when I get back in Marcus that I will be winning. But it's stuff like this that really brings communities together. Like it's like 3-4 hours of fun with people. And I think the gaming hasn't really captured that, and a lot of that has been lost. A lot of the trash talk has been censored, which I can understand why you would want to not allow an adult to trash talk a child. But a lot of that was really fun, and a lot of the material that was being created around these games got censored or demonetized. But that's the community is what made me excited to play the game, even more so than the game itself, arguably. The content creators creating all of these like edits around certain characters or champions or talking about the lore was way more exciting. And I've seen a lot of games take a stance of like kind of like a not a pay to win. There are definitely those, but more like just focusing on microtransactions and different skins and stuff like that, where really encouraging the community to be creating content around the game is what's really exciting to me. So if not for a bunch of friends of mine that played Magic, I probably may have never touched the game. It's so if I was introduced to Magic online and it's just like me playing with myself and there's very little community interaction or community around it, it may not be very exciting for me. Like, one of the most exciting aspects about when people play online chess is that people at the higher levels tend to know each other. So you get excited, you're like, "Oh, I'm paired with I know this person, he's a grandmaster or she's a grandmaster or whatever." And then you're playing against them, and then you because of the context of the community aspect, you get really excited. I think if I was just playing with a robot all day or anybody was just playing with a robot all day, it wouldn't be that much fun unless you're really hardcore into chess. But, I never thought I was gonna play at the world stage for any esport related game I was playing. I just was wanting to, kick it back with my friends and, especially during COVID where everything was shut down, it was a big source of community, like hopping on Discord, being able to hop in Among Us and then, like, have that chat or play, like, party style games, like Jackbox was really fun. So, yeah, I think Web3 has an ability to bring people together in a way that, hasn't truly been done online yet. So, I'm really excited about that. We've had some ideas. We have a lot of products that haven't been shipped that are around that solution, but we're really you only have so many hours in the day, so really focusing on the main protocol. But down the road, we have a lot of really cool tech that we would like to ship out, and I think it will be a very big win for the community.
Nice. Not to date myself, but to date myself. I got my first Magic the Gathering deck for my birthday in '94.
Wow.
And and you have a fancy case for your deck.
Yeah.
Back then we had shoe boxes and cardboard boxes for, like the playing cards, and stuff like that, those boxes. And um Magic has MTG has really grown. I still play.
Yeah,
I play Arena. So if you ever want to play online and you want to be decimated by my cat deck, let
I'm
me
down.
know.
Yeah,
I
always down to
I,
play.
I go hard with the cats. So
We have, like, over 40K decks in the office, we have Doctor Who decks in the office. We have a lot of really cool decks, and actually, this is a temporary case. I we at the end of the night, we get tickets for our participation, and depending if we killed someone or won, then we get more tickets. And then I won a 3D printed case for my card, and I believe it's not the vault. There's a I forgot what I won, but it's really cool, and they're like zombie hand ones and all different kinds of really cool, custom 3D printed, card holders.
okay. All right. You're trying to bring it hard to the paint right now. I
Yeah,
like this.
whenever you come on down, you'll
You're
see me
trying to
rock very different,
trying
uh
to flex.
yeah,
Oh,
we have a full office, we have 2 3D printers running at all times. It's got a if you wanna 3D print something, it's got a 3-week backlog. And we have, like, the coolest different colors that go with it as well. Katie's a whiz with it. So, yeah, and we do a
Katie's
lot of
pretty awesome. All right. So now I have to ask the really like the hard questions
yeah,
because I can't make this just like a fluff piece. Are you ready for the hard questions?
yeah, I think, my role is, ask being asked questions all day long, so I'm happy to do my best to tackle them.
What the heck is Nicolas Cage doing in the background?
I actually get that asked a lot. So we have several different cutouts of like members of our team and different celebrities. Nicolas Cage is the one that got put in my office as a prank. So I'm waiting for the opportunity to prank someone back. I have a short timeline since I'm leaving on Sunday. So I gotta figure out, like, cause you can't just place it in someone's office. The way, Nicholas got into my office was he was placed in front of the door, and I had my doors closed because I was on a call, and I opened the door to go to the bathroom, and he's, like, right in front of me. So, I did deck Nicolas Cage, when I came out because that was a natural thing to do. Like, no one's standing that close to the door. Uh And so then I went to the bathroom, and then someone put it upside down on in the back of my office. So all I did was set him right side up and waiting for a good opportunity to surprise somebody with them.
So I was trying to find a print shop in Singapore, but they couldn't do it in time because Super AI was such an amazing conference. But it was only 2 days, so I wanted to spend day one at my booth and then day two going and talking to all of the other booths. So I wanted to go create a cutout printout of me like
Oh,
that,
like,
all conference gear, like with like a sign, come find me, I look like this, you know.
yeah.
And then just put that at the booth, you know. I
I
might
think
have
that's
to.
perfect. I think I've seen, like, on YouTube, other people do that, and I think it's, people get a especially if you know them, like, if I saw that, I know you pretty well, so I would have definitely snipped a photo with, 2D Taco.
I would have looked really really slim. I would have liked that. Yeah. No, this is I might end up having to do this for Token, because Token, so normally they take up 3 floors for Token at Marina Bay Sands, and half of just the fourth floor holds 6,000 people more than comfortably. But they're taking up originally they were taking up 3 floors. Now they're taking up 5 floors.
Wow.
And so there's going to be a lot to see and do. Um, I almost had prime booth position, but I have a booth there. And can I drop some alpha? Can I drop a little bit of alpha?
Sure.
I A little bit of alpha would be that's going to be one of the first times where Manifest is showing partnership with Wire Network, because I'm doing everything I can to really ingrain us, because I really like what you're doing and I love what we're doing. But
Yeah.
that's sort of the start of something awesome. And so so Wire Network is going to be represented at Token 2049.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think, like, you guys do a really cool job, and I like everyone on your team. I've met nearly everybody on your team in person, minus probably Anson, but pretty much met everyone, and there's definitely a very we've been to a lot of these different conferences, and I would say that what compels me the most is, like, why do this is, I believe that people always are looking for the truth. And we got into a point in our society where we feel like we're constantly being fooled and that the truth is always being hidden from us. And that I think to move forward in an honest way, you have to have other people that are very much bought into this concept of transparency, trustlessness. And definitely when I met you guys, I thought that you embodied that very well. And you could understand and our technology at a deeper level, and it was like it was just so easy. I feel like energy is one of the few things in this world that may be real, and when you have that unexplainable chemistry with someone, like when I'm meeting someone, whether it's a potential VC opportunity or a potential partner or someone that's looking to build with Wire, I pretty much know, and I think everyone pretty much knows, unless you're ignoring it, that, "Hey, this is gonna be good or it's not gonna be good." And if it's something that's just not gonna work out and, eyes glaze over in 3 minutes, then you should probably get off the phone or, talk to someone else at the convention.
Mhm.
Because people that resonate with what you do is is so powerful. So, I definitely resonated a lot with Eric and with you, and I enjoy a lot of people from your team, and, I think he resonated with our team very well. We're super authentic. We don't pretend to be anything other than ourselves, and we're, like, very transparent with everything that we're doing. Like, "Hey, man," like, when we see like, a lot of times, like, someone will DM me, like, an interoperability solution, and I'm like, "Dude, it's great," and then you'll hear the C-level of our company say the exact same thing. "It's great to see other people working on the problem because it needs to be solved." A lot of people are very concerned. When I was, doing a lot of the partnership stuff, often you'll find, like, partnership stuff, especially with, like, traditional business moving into Web3. they're like, "Okay, we gotta do what do we have to do to be Web3? We have to do this, open source, this, that." And then they're like, "Okay, okay, whatever, whatever. Let's go ahead and do it," because they see it more as like a good fundraising opportunity because of the attention and niche fundraising
Mhm.
that happens in our space. But the moment they're like, "Wait, we can't own this or we have to release our code. What if someone?" I'm like, "Well, what do you think happened with Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap? Like, what do you think happened there? Like, you have to open source the technology, and then the solution is to do better, to be better, to constantly work on a better solution, not to create a really good solution and then kind of stagnate over time and then have the industry in a chokehold because you own everything and you can't innovate on your stuff because it's all privatized. So definitely there is that mission that you guys have a very long-term mission. I always say be very wary of any company or any individual who has an extremely short-sighted goal. That if you ask them about the future, they can't say anything, or if you ask them when I first started going out to conferences, I thought the only qualification to, work in business development is to be able to drink a lot because all of the people I met didn't talk about they would just throw a big name, and then they would just be pounding alcohol and being belligerent, and, I'm down to hang with the boys too, but, like, you gotta have some passion for what you're doing, and then I would see the same guy repping another company, like, 6 months later and be like, "Oh, yeah, this company's the best," "They paid me a little bit more, and I'm over here," and there's a lack of belief, and sometimes it's very disheartening if you're a true, someone who's truly adding value in the space because you'll meet people on these calls, and they won't really care about whatever you're talking about. They'll talk about your KPI or revenue or this or that. And, we're doing good in a lot of those metrics, but it's this feeling that I want to transfer belief from myself to someone else because um, I only think that you should do things that you believe in, and then you won't be good. Like, I was talking to another BD member at another company, and they were saying, like, what do you think is important in BD? I said, the most important thing is not that you understand everything, but you really believe in what you're doing because you can't really fake authenticity. And whatever it takes for you to believe in what you're doing, you should do those things because when you speak to someone, people can instantly feel that you're being sold. Um, every time I talk to someone and they become a new believer in Wire Network, there was never at any point where I'm trying to sell someone. I definitely follow the standard protocol. Like you want to follow up, you want to talk to people again, you want to be diligent, but you
Mhm.
never at any point in time should feel like you're hard selling someone. I think that's a very bad place to be in. There are certain tasks in this world that you can improve by adding pressure, but at the higher levels of business development or strategy or sales, you really need to be talking from a heartfelt place. So for myself, I really believe I've traveled a lot as you have, and I've seen a lot of disparagement and a lot of difference between income and equality and all over the world. And I say if we get to a point where, and I don't want to deep dive into too many things, but if you get to a point where someone's really wealthy son or nephew can like break into the country's bank, have military weapons out and available, and say, "Give me everything that you have," and then the response from the attendant is, even if you were to kill all of us, break down the bank, whatever. I can't give you what you're asking for because we have a currency that's backed by math and we have consensus. So no one authority can take over the whole thing. So that will create a much more equal world, in my opinion. And when you like we solve things like I've been a part of several projects where and have good friends that work with water, electricity, and then, there was education. Those are really big things that help move a country forward. But something that is really difficult is working on the financial part of it. When
Yep.
people don't even have home addresses to send a card to use as a bank account card, then you have a real problem because then now there's a central place that people go pick up their cards at, and then inevitably there's going to be some central authority around who gets to pick up the cards.
Mhm.
So what's really cool is everybody has that's access to the internet, an IP address, or in this case, a wallet address. If you have an IP address, you can get a wallet address. So now you have a mailbox. Now you have an address that people can send you money to directly without any third party intervention. And the fact that fragmentation has been such a harmful part of our industry, that we have all of these siloed monies and blockchains and and projects, that this is actually quite harmful. We want decentralization, but we don't want solitude. We want to be able to interact and be able to um, work with people. So the idea is, okay, if we remove the barriers of the fragmentation model, which is everyone is siloed off and you have to, all the best that we can do is create a wrap version of your asset on our chain. And then when you interact with our chain, then we'll respect that asset as the locked up value. Um, when we can move past that, then we allow for people to be able to, what if you only have access and all of the projects that you work with only accept Matic, for example. Like what if that's your situation? And then you are losing clients and losing ability to work with others because you have an inability, or it's too expensive or too slow or too much education for you to get Sol, for example, or ETH. Then you're running into a bad spot. So for us, and for me, what motivates me is I want to see a future, a world where there is a brighter future for those. It's not that you are born in a certain country, and then if you're not born in this certain country, then tough luck. That I think that if we can move past that, and everybody is able to transact and interact with everyone, then we will get to a much more democratized society. And because of that, because then there is no one power holding everything, then in this situation, you're going to find that there's a lot more innovation, a lot more competition, and that's going to create an even better world for us, instead of having us kind of like accept that this is going to be the way it is. So, yeah, I think that's part of what makes me so excited, and then when I talk to people, that excitement and that belief comes out and is very transparent. So, when I met you guys, there was that moment where we're both being super authentic, super open, and there's like, "Hey, we definitely," like, the dotting the I's and, crossing the T's is something that takes a little bit more time, but as far as like, "Hey, we want to do something together," that shouldn't take no time at all.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. I'm very excited about what you guys are building, and we're a back-end solution. You're gonna not see, it's not like you go to the Wire Network landing page and you see everything. You're gonna be going into OpenSea, you're gonna be going into Magic Eden, you're gonna be going to all these places, and then you'll be able to suddenly have an option, a third option to be able to use this UTL thing. And you're like, okay, cool. Click on it. Oh, cool. I saved gas fees. I didn't have to pay gas this time. That's cool. And that it's what's really important. And the way that we launched our network was really important too. Like Ethereum had its ICO, which is really cool. But and people were able to get tokens in that way, and then people were able to be validators and all these kind of things. But in our network, what we did was we said, okay, this is the entire blockchain, and because blockchain is limited by its hardware. And then we're like, okay, well, let's slice this up, and we're going to break it down into nodes. And these nodes are going to have certain responsibilities with governance and all of that. But that's really cool, is when someone buys a node, they can have ownership of a piece of the blockchain, and that's what makes me really excited about my portion of my contribution with Wire, is talking about nodes and saying, "Hey, like, you can every time something passes by this portion of land, you get Wire token, you get rewarded for that." And you are also able with the nodes, let's say I wanna power a DApp with it. Like, I got the question the other day about Binance. And on that particular day, we looked at the amount of transactions they were having on the entire day. And then we looked at, okay, well, let's divide that by the number of seconds in a day to get a rough number. And it came out to be about 35 transactions per second. And I said, okay, well, they're like, how many T2 nodes will we need to run that? I said, well, a T2 node is capable of hundreds of transactions per second. So you would be able to comfortably run Binance with one T2 node, which is about 100K USD in ETH. And again, that's decentralized because we have that as an Ethereum NFT to represent the node. So that conversation got very exciting because it's like, oh, so if I have, let's say, a 10K node, which is capable of like, let's say 5 transactions per second, and I have a new startup, like many startups are not going to be faced with more than 10 5 transactions per second. So I'm able to create an environment where my users, my members that I worked hard to gain their, trust, and like have everyone get excited about the project, will be able to use and transact and do things with my application without the hindrance of gas fees. I said, that is correct. So that is something that really got me excited about Wire Network. And so the whole all chains, no gas, those two lines is really powerful. So it's really like a B2B play, and a really getting the partners involved and especially curating like people that are going to be understanding of the project, understand its importance, have the Web3's best interest in mind. Those are the people that we tend to partner with first. So yeah, very exciting stuff.
You did a perfect segue in there, because I wanted to touch on nodes and how do people get involved with Wire Network now, type of thing. And so um, you don't, I don't want to say, you don't have a permissionless system set up yet to where someone could not even talk to you and just go buy a node. You want to talk to people because you look at it as a B2B, as the relationship side of things right now. But it's an NFT position. So anyone, whether they get a tier one node or a tier two or tier three, or later on a five, six,
Mhm.
seven, um, they could just buy it off the open markets, you know?
Yeah. So the way that the ones that I want to talk to and then can we get involved with are the T1 nodes, because they're a very important part of our governance.
Mhm.
Um, essentially have to submit a flight of three candidates, and then there's two-thirds plus one consensus on who becomes the council. And the council's length is determined by the length of our network prior to network expansion. So when a network expansion event happens, our network physically grows bigger, and then we have a new set of members for the council. Besides that, T2 nodes and T3 nodes are actually we have a permissionless system for that. So if people were to visit Foundation, they would be able to immediately go in and purchase a T2 or T3 node. People just tend to find out about the website by talking to me. That's just usually how it goes. But absolutely, it's permissionless. You're able to secure your spot with a T2 or T3 node without any third party as intended. So um, I basically all I do is introduce them to the site. So
Yeah.
that's really yeah, so that's really key. And about the nodes in general, there's three parts of it. And typically, this is all bundled into one responsibility. One of the big things is that we've been able to separate node owner from a node operator. Node operator is someone that runs the hardware, essentially. A node owner is someone that has committed the initial cost to in order to buy a node, and they're in charge. They have some hardware responsibilities as well, like a dashboard, like because they are able to use the compute for themselves or for other purposes. And that's really what the nodes is all about. If I were to boil down what the nodes are in two words, it's decentralized compute. So the compute being the ability to throughput transactions or to like do actions with them on our network. So yeah, I think that's really what breaks down what a node is. And the only difference is the price of the node and the amount of compute that you get for that node. So that T2 node I was talking about, for example, is 0.15% of our network. So that's it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's capable of doing quite a bit. So the way to think about it, I was told a good story by Jesse Bryan from 679, and he was telling me how like Toys R Us had like a very good proximity to Wall Street. So like they like company came in. I'm not that good at telling the story. I don't know the story off the top of my head, but basically someone came in and was like, "Hey, we'll pay you a lot of money to use your internet connection because it has a direct connection to Wall Street, and then we'll be able to get our transaction through much faster." So by having the property itself, that kept Toys R Us alive for quite a bit longer, which I thought was a cool story. And it's a very similar thing here. Anyone that understands real estate or property or ownership will understand the value of having a piece of the technology, a piece of the physical real estate that the transactions are going to be going through and requiring your TPS. So, yeah, I think that's basically what breaks it down. And it comes with it has an unvesting period of depending on what node you get, 12, 24, 36 months where you are awarded wire token. So the
Mhm.
wire token is given to you for the compute, but also in order for the next generation of nodes that pop up, you're awarded the exact amount of wire token needed in order to participate in the next network expansion. So that's going to be really cool because we'll up the hardware and then we'll up the hardware, so you'll be getting uh, quite a bit more capability the next time around as well. Although the hardware that we're running this time is quite significant as well.
Can
But
I tell you one of my favorite things about your website?
yeah,
The Wire Foundation website, the fact that you have dark mode.
oh, it's very important. And everything that we develop, one of the first things what we do
That's important to me.
is dark.
And okay. That sounds like the dumbest thing, but it's literally one of those like the actual amount of work that like you have to own some with a when you're building a site from scratch, having a light mode and a dark mode, you literally have to have two different websites,
Yeah,
and you have to have opposite assets for each site to so that they show and that text are different color and that it just everything is like I look like I have a spotlight on me, but literally it's just three white screens.
yeah,
Actually it's two white screens, and now I have dark mode from Wire Foundation, Wire.Foundation. And so I'm a tier 3 node operator, and so I have a tier 3 node, and so that means I get my INV, my wire token that I need to save for 3 years to be able to participate in the next level. But you have that, and what is a tier 3 node cost right now?
yeah. So a tier three node costs 10K in USD, and you pay for it in ETH. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what does a tier 2 node cost?
100K USD, and you pay for that also in ETH.
And what does a tier 1 node cost?
750K USD, and you also pay that in ETH.
Yeah. And so, but one of the things that you said there is that you get the equivalent amount of wire token staked to your node that's divested over 12 months, 24 months, and 36 months over that time period of providing services to the network. But at a tier 1 level, this isn't a set and forget, buy it and forget it type of thing. You actually have to participate.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, what happens if someone doesn't participate? If someone buys a tier 1 node and they're just like, I'm just sitting on this. What happens to them?
Yeah, so slashing is a very important aspect of any kind of like so there's a lot of game theory that we have done in the background of that. And a lot of that is it is programmatic, but a lot of that discussion was around like governance as well. But so yeah, there's definitely several mechanisms in place to ensure that people do participate.
Yeah.
And because essentially you have this unvesting period and you are essentially have that staked and you wouldn't want to just throw it all away, as well as like several other mechanisms that are in place. But yeah, I think that because of the separation of node operator and node owner, I think that there will be very little issue there. Whereas before, when the node owner and node operator is the same individual, then you can run into some problems. Like you can run into problems around centralization. For example, if I have the most money and I buy the most amount of nodes, then I have the most amount of influence over the network. So that's a position that you don't really want to be in. So that's why we created our own governance, appointed proof of stake. And actually, when you use the UTL, you're protected by three layers of governance. There's ABFT, APOS, and then you have the native chains governance that protects their uh, consensus model.
So one of the things that I wanted, I had brought it, I wanted to bring it up, but it's missing, or I'm not finding it. One of the things that I read a while ago was your white paper that because you just dropped like 5 alphabet soup, and that's one of the sad things that we do because we're creating such new technology. We have to create new words, or not even create new words, but put new words together. And and so the easiest way to say that is with acronyms. And so we create this alphabet soup, and you have an amazing white paper. You like I was saying, your documentation. So
Yeah, we're
is it
actually
is
yeah.
it hidden because you're waiting to release some new stuff on Thursday?
Yeah, so we have an immense amount of documentation internally,
Mhm.
and we actually have a new white paper dropping relatively soon. Like we're looking in the next month, we have a new white paper dropping potentially, and then that's going to be laying out a lot more things in more detail. So that's going to be very exciting for people to look at as well. And yeah, I think like the way that we did it is that we have our white paper as like a README doc on GitHub. So then you'll be able to see the different versions as we evolve. And
Yeah.
that's something that's really important is that it's a lot of people try to act like they knew everything from the very beginning. We had the
Mm.
heart of the concept very early on. We knew what we needed to do, but there were definitely things that we worked out and found better solutions for and have modified and changed over time. So you'll even see modifications from that white paper that you're looking at to the new white paper that is going to be out. But the core of what we're going to be able to do has only expanded since the first iteration. So there's gonna be a lot of new stuff in there, and it's gonna be pretty exciting. But yeah, it was really fun. Funny thing about documentation is when we were getting started, it was something that like people kind of got used to asking for. They're like, "Hey, like, give me the website, give me the white paper, send me your pitch deck," and then that was kind of like the standard template where
Mhm.
we from a software development company prior to entering Web3. So we were like just starting to build the stuff. So we had a lot of stuff that we had built, and then we were just showing people that, and then uh, we all of the documentation was like embedded with the code as like comments and such, and like for different docs. But then we had to go and organize all that into white paper because people that were not as technical were needing to check off things off their list. So that was really funny because we saw people do the other way around where they have a white paper, they have an idea, they talk about it, and then they raise money for it, and then they find engineers and engineers trying to make real what is in the white paper. So yeah, coming from an engineering, our company being engineering positioned, then it was kind of like the opposite. We just made stuff because like when you have a problem, you start immediately solving it. And then people were like, "Hey, this is really cool, but do you have documentation for this?" We're like, "Yeah, it's like we have documentation, but it's like all over the
It's
code."
footnotes in the code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so so we had to go and like organize all of that and then create the initial white paper. Then we have our current white paper, and then we're going to release another white paper. And the white paper is always trailing behind the innovation. Where I feel like a lot of people they come up with an idea first, and then they kind of like write down the premise of the idea, and then they go build towards that. Where our engineering has always kind of been in front of what we were documenting. So yeah, even from that white paper, it's like a lot of innovation has happened from the time that was released to now. So, and I think it'll continue to be that way. We continue to hire more and more engineers that have a strong writing background to help us keep the documentation, keep up with the tech. But yeah, it's a funny little thing that people were checking things off on. Like they're like, we
Yeah.
need the paper and the white paper, and we need this and we need that.
What's
And
your Discord link? What's your community look like? Who follows you? Yeah. You
yeah, they
know,
want to do the checklist first. So we finally got into that position where cool people are following us and we're following cool people and we make cool partnerships and we built like demos to show off the tech and like we've done everything that we needed to do in order to be here today. There were definitely times during like the bear market where I think a lot of other people would have thrown in the towel and we were like we can't stop building. So a lot of respect to Ken and Kyle to continue moving the company forward, irregardless of like literally every blue chip NFT was falling out of the sky. The market was plummeting. Everybody was like saying, "Oh, Web3 is over." And during that time, we did a lot of head down, a lot of work, a lot of innovation. So I'm very proud of our company for having stayed strong through those moments.
nice. Yeah, no, I know what it's like, what it was like during, belt tightening seasons, one, yeah. It been around for four cycles now. Three
Mm,
cycles? Yeah, something like that. I don't really I'm a trader, so I'm a degen. I buy the stupidest things. I buy the stupidest things that AI tells me to buy, or the like I find things. I watch Block Explorer deployer wallets, and see what tokens they're deploying, and I used to get into some pretty hot stuff pretty quickly because I was watching it before anything, and like I've ruined like 2 projects by accident because like they one-sided like liquidity dropped before they paired it. So I bought a bunch and before they could pair it properly and stuff like that. And then like they as they're dropping the liquidity, they see what happened and it's like just sort of like, and I'm like, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I got some stories, but I wanted to get into some degen stuff, but before I do that,
Sure.
I want to like, what's the call to action? If you want someone to learn more about Wire Network, obviously the simple thing to do is follow you on Twitter. And if
Yeah.
you're on Twitter right now, you will see the Wire Network, aka Wire Blockchain, up in the crowd. Please give them a follow. But Magnus, what's the next step
Yeah.
of someone to learn more?
Yeah. There's a few next steps. I would go from the one that you should do, like, coming the soonest, and then, like, more long term. I would say that number 1, if there's a call to action above anything else, is to educate yourself in this space as much as possible. You can never know enough. I've been digging into blockchain and decentralized AI for a few years now, and I still wake up every day feeling like a newborn baby. So please never stop being diligent on educating yourself. Be someone who's truly a believer in Web3, truly a believer in decentralized currency, decentralized intelligence, all of these things. Before any personal call to actions, please do that. Please continue to follow people like Player One Taco and others that continue to educate those in the space. That's really important. Now, the first call to action for Wire Network is we have major announcements being dropped by our CEO, Ken DeCross, our CTO, Kyle Dolan, who never comes on these spaces. He's very busy man. So they're gonna be dropping huge announcements this Thursday on our Twitter space at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We have a really big and powerful and amazing and just wonderful guest that I'm very lucky to call a friend. So that's gonna be happening. Please, that's like the soonest thing that's gonna be happening. That's
Who's the
number one.
guest?
Number two,
Who's the guest?
I can't.
Hint, hint.
Okay, hint. Oh, it'd be too easy. Okay. Here's some homework. Wrote the white paper on dApps and wrote the white paper on smart agents. So
Oh, I know. I
if you know that individual, then
know that answer. I know.
yeah. So
I
that's
love that man
and
or woman or
oh yeah.
person. I know who it is, but I oh, okay.
If you're willing to do a little bit of a homework and figure out who that is, then absolutely, I'm very blessed to be a friend and have visited his
2016, I think he wrote that paper.
Yeah, 2013, I believe is dApps, and then 2023 was Smart Agents, and
Yep.
yeah, so very, very cool, and also a very important paper to read. I would read that Smart Agent paper.
And what's really cool is it's an open source document that just keeps getting added to.
Yeah,
And so like like added to and like new things are added to it. So it's a growing document. And so um he's a good soul.
yeah.
Like
I
I think
really, I've learned a lot from him. So the other big announcement, or the other thing to for a call to action is if you understand the position that we are in the market, if you understand how big of a problem fragmentation is in Web3 and blockchain, and you want to own a piece of the real estate that all transactions will inevitably be going through, as per my belief, then you should definitely visit Foundation or, hit me up on Twitter or X, or you can like hit me up through my email, whatever. And then I like to take my time to walk you down why this is such an important and big decision for you.
that's
So
that's that's a bold statement asking people to just email you off the internet, you know.
well, I think the most fun things that I have, and this is a thing with like events in general, is that the main events are really cool. I love to go to them, but really like the work of fate meetings you have with people that are just on the fly and just happen, those are the most meaningful to me. So when you just happen to connect with someone, that's really, really cool. So I think that's no problem. I think it's no problem at all if people want to hit me up on email.
Yeah.
So the other thing is watch us very closely. We've been in development for 4 years. We're going to have major announcements going through the entire length of fall and winter, and new things being launched through the entire length of fall and winter. And I would really advise you to follow wire underscore blockchain. Keep it like whatever you need to do to keep that at the top of your feed. It's going to be really, really important if you don't want to miss out on what I think is going to be the third big uh the third big generational event in blockchain. I would consider, Bitcoin, and then make your DAO wrapped Bitcoin, and then you have Ethereum, and then we have a lot of solutions that we're trying to solve, and we've actually accidentally created more fragmentation, and then therefore we have all these interoperability solutions that either cost too much or have been hacked. And then now we're gluing it all back together to feel like Web 2, although it is all decentralized in proper Web 3 fashion. So please, please stay tuned to that for that. So I would say
I,
that that's really
I,
important.
so I'm one of those geeks that nerds, dorks, degens that
Each
read like a lot of the Git book. And, you're taking a very complex thing of interoperability. But you one of the simplest solutions you found with it. Oh, excuse me. The universe is trying to kill me right now, so I don't talk about it. Oh no, no, maybe it's like the 10 vapes I have in front of me. Um, but no, naming services,
Yeah.
universal naming services, not just Ethereum naming services, not just SNS Solana naming services, but a universal naming service. And that was like the way you guys connected on a technical level. I understood, you
Mhm.
know, your formula for your governance votes. I totally got, and I was like, ha, I like that. You're +1. And but you abstract a lot of the technicality behind it.
Mhm.
So front facing, it's just naming services.
Yeah, for sure. It's essentially anytime you create an account, you'll have your name service, and then you'll have that on every other chain as well.
When you so for people that are listening, when you say make an account, when you say you're meaning make a new wallet.
Yeah. When you have actually it's a little bit more nuanced than that. You have an existing wallet that you like, and you link the authority, because the whole premise is called abstracted ownership. And then that's a pretty important term to know. So abstract ownership essentially is, instead of bringing my house around everywhere with me to prove that I own it, I can show a deed, and this deed is very good at showing you that I own this property.
I
So
own this property.
exactly. So that's essentially the same thing that we're doing in Web3, is that you have these assets, and then you have this deed that shows you that I own these assets, and you're able to walk around with the deed and interact with people that are interested in your asset or whatever you want to do with it. And then they know that you own those assets. So that's really important. The other really important thing is what we have done with the account. So you have your wallet that you like, you create a wire account, and this is a wire account. You'll be able to have universal interoperability with all of the blockchains. And then where our blockchain comes into that mix, and this is actually quite important when you think about it, is when you have a Ethereum address, that's like your everything. That's everything. But what we've been able to integrate with Wire and our Wire blockchain is there's this really important concept of auth, authorization, and permissions and weights. So, for example, if a company wanted to, like, because you got to think about it and like, okay, living in Web 3, but the best way for mass adoption to take place is to see what's currently happening in Web 2. So let's say you and I, we open a new LLC, and we're like, okay, we want to be a completely Web3 company, no bank involved. Okay, cool. So now I have this wallet address, and now you're like, wait a minute, who has access to this wallet address? And then you're like, okay, wait a minute. Now we need, directors, we need employees, and certain employees will need to be able to like sign off things. So like, how are we gonna how like there's so many things a bank
Pull it into
allows.
a multi-sig.
Yeah, a bank allows you to do so many, be very flexible with who you give a card to, what they're allowed to do. This is an authorized signer. This person can transact. So in a blockchain situation, you're going to have to say, okay, who has access to the account? Who can withdraw? Who can transact? Do we need more than one person? Do we need a weighted system where we need 2 out of 3 people to be have their wallet connected in order for the transaction to go through? Do we have certain authorizations where this account can only do this, they can only read the data, for example. They can't do anything with the money inside of the contract. So that whole premises is very important to allow a company into Web3. And that's what we've been able to do is that we have auth or authorization, we have permissions. So we have permission to do XYZ. And then we have weights where like you need this many keys in order to have the transaction go through. And then that's allows us to have, you know, a regular company be completely on Web3 if they wanted to. And then, of course, because you can take USDC, they can take whatever. So that was a really important step, and then that plays a big part into, like, how UPAP works. UPAP so we created 2 different protocols. UPAP is one of them, Universal Polymorphic Address Protocol. Essentially, it allows your wallet to interact with all other chains, so that's a big part of the UTL, and that wallet protocol is pretty cool because it basically creates a and this is where they work with name service, is it allows you to create a different name service on every other blockchain. So therefore, when you have the settlement layer and you have these buckets that need to be settled, it's able to send money to these different addresses that are linked to your account, and then you see that manifest into your wallet. So that's really important and pretty complicated if you wanted to get into it. But essentially, the key takeaway is this: you have your wallet of choice, the one that you like using, you learned how to use. You have it linked to your wire account, and that wire account therefore allows you to create do all transactions across all chains.
Mhm.
And if there's a node involved in that mix, you'll also be able to obfuscate the gas fees as well. So those are the main key takeaways of several different protocols we created and a lot of stuff that we built that works together in the UTL, Universal Transaction Layer.
Yeah. So people that are building stuff right now,
Yeah.
um, what like so we have a lot of builders listening to us, watching us. Almost everyone in Web3 gets an idea of doing something different, better, faster, slower, or different color tone. Um, as you're looking and expanding for partners, what is that service that you can provide to build people that are builders and protocols, or what would you say to them?
Yeah. So for builders, the really big important part there is universal standardization. Like when you're building on the internet, then you know that there's a certain protocol for how things work. You know how to interact with the protocol. When every blockchain is kind of creating their own version of how their blockchain works and how their protocols work, then it can be very cumbersome. Then what does someone who's a builder that's looking to provide for their family, what are they going to do? They're going to learn Solidity. They're going to continue to build on Ethereum. But it is such the case that you should have the best tool for the job. So, like for example, one of the things that our office kind of has a stance against is you creating a framework where you only need to learn one language. Now, there is benefit to that. If you're a new developer and you learn how to use JavaScript, and then you can use React and you can use Redux and you can use all of these different frameworks that JavaScript works with, then you are able to just learn one language. But then when it comes down to having the time complexity be brought down, then you're going to need to dive into C a little bit and C++ and C sharp and all of these things. So you as a developer, those who are I find typically people that are really hardcore developers tend to not care so much about what language they're building on. They're like, this language is the best language for the job. This is the best for this is the best tool for the job. So what blockchain doesn't allow you to do currently, because there are certain blockchains that are much more popular than other ones, is that you may see something over here that's like, oh, this would be a really cool thing to use and build on, but it doesn't have liquidity to Ethereum. So then you're like, okay, well, will our project be popular? We won't be able, we have to basically be an EVM from the start in order to have the most amount of action and uh, possibility for success. So by creating universal standards around interoperability, we're going to allow builders to be able to build something and then have it accessible um, across all chains. And then they will be able to pick the particular chain for the, like, for example, if Wax blockchain, let's just say, you looked at that blockchain and you're like, this is where I want to build my game.
Why?
And
Why would you want to build on Wax?
well,
No, don't answer that. That is not a question for us to answer today or ever.
oh, let's say it can be something as small as the community or the developer tools around games are much more
Yeah,
efficient.
okay. There are lots of reasons to build on Wax.
So let's
Uh,
say you build on Wax,
Builder ones.
you'll be able to build on Wax and then not worry about, oh, I don't have access to liquidity to Ethereum. So for us, I encourage developers to build on Wire, to keep a close eye on Wire, because we are a company. First of all, you can see it physically in our office. Our office, as you know, maybe we'll do a tour another time, is designed to be somewhere very comfortable for the developer. We had the developer in mind when we built the office. We had the developer in mind when we started building the protocols and the systems, and we had the developer in mind to this day in the present. So when the developers are able to access the code, when they're able to be able to build on Wire, they will find an experience that was very much created for them with them in mind. Whereas, Apple can create a multi-billion-dollar, trillion or whatever it is, fishbowl that looks really cool. VCs who like to visit and all that kind of stuff, but the developer doesn't like you talked about light mode and dark mode. Why is that so important to us? Is it's a cultural thing. There's a cultural thing with degens and with people that are developers that they're like, there's a meme about it. They're like, we like dark mode. And because we understand the importance of it, when a developer is like, hey, we should make this dark mode, it's not like, wait, let's do that later. We need to do the rest of this or whatever. It's immediately like, yeah, of course we should have a dark mode. So a lot of the companies that I talk to, they struggle because they don't have that tech leadership, and that tech leadership understands the needs and the wants of the developer and is able to incentivize them in ways that are just beyond a paycheck. So absolutely, we create a cool environment. Like, it was Kyle's idea that we had Magic Night, and our developers love it. I love playing with everyone. It's a great way to connect. It's just the valuing things that you wouldn't learn in business school, valuing things that you wouldn't learn just managing programmers. You would definitely need to be a programmer yourself or be a degen yourself in order to appreciate certain nuances. But when you're building for the Web3 community, that is something that is, worth doing. So definitely my word to builders is that you'll be very excited about what we build. You'll find that it to be very flexible, and you'll be able to feel very comfortable in the environment that we provide you guys.
All right. Yeah. Um, Man, we could go on. I just looked at the clock. We've been going for an hour and 40 minutes.
Wow. It felt like nothing, huh?
Man. um, Goodness. Okay. Like, there's so many things. Like, so I want to, okay. We've covered a lot of Wire. Can we talk
Yeah.
about like nothing for a minute?
Yeah, of course.
Um, Degen plays lately.
Yeah.
what was the first blockchain asset that you bought?
Yeah. So actually, I was working a job, and then this is my first experience. This is maybe 2016, I think. And they were offering to pay me in Bitcoin. And I didn't know what Bitcoin was. I called it internet money. And I was like, no, I want to be paid in dollars. Like, you guys are trying to scam me. Eventually, accepted me and team members accepted the Bitcoin. And then we were like, okay, cool. And obviously, when you have an asset in your wallet, so that was like, I had to get a wallet, I had to like have a transfer and all that. So then when you have the asset in your wallet, you want to know about it. You want to know if it's valuable. So then that's when I began my deep dive on Bitcoin. And then having it be able to be liquidated or staked or have lending against it to create liquidity was really cool. MakerDAO allowed that to happen with DAI, and then so that was cool. And then the other thing that So then that kind of like plateaued. I continued to do work, and then I think when I met Kyle, because I known Kyle on and off for 10 years. When I met Kyle and I was like, hey, what's with all this crypto stuff? Is this like the new thing? Like, is this just like, a good way for, is this like how developers need to make money these days? Like, we're friends, so we're just shooting the shit. And then he was like, he took me down a deep rabbit hole. And obviously, like, there's many like big pivotal moments that I spoke on before as like spoke to my heart. But then there were a lot of degen moments. One of the degen moments was, you need to go on Uniswap and get a pair. You need to you need to have that experience. So I'm like, what do you recommend? What's like what's trading best now? He's like, no, no, no. No, you need to get a real pair. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And he's like, let's get a shit ETH pair. So it's like shitcoin and then ETH paired. And I'm like, why would I do that? And he's like, it's for the culture. So from that moment on, there has been a lot of for the culture moments.
Do you remember what that culture was?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like for example, I have a buddy of mine whose basically entire net worth is in NFTs, and young guy, very cool guy. And um I didn't understand him, but then, like, I became pretty similar soon after, where I basically migrated most of my assets that are not hard assets into crypto. And then that was a very important movement for me. And then just being able to meet people and like I met a lot of them through these events where you'll have like true degen behavior where they're talking about like what it was like to buy an NFT way back in the day and like all the struggles they have gone through. It was very
Buying from
unusual.
the contract days, those
Yes,
the
days.
those were fun. Like no UI, you know. Um, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
our office used to sound like a jet engine because we had so many miners running in a small room that we pointed all the fans towards. And it was just like learning about mining, learning about the culture, and then like it was very interesting seeing internet culture interact with money. Like DeFi could also be called like degen finance because it's you don't see that so much. Like everyone I know in the financial world, there's a very distinct look to it, very Silicon Valley. And when then you go to, these events, I'm the only guy usually wearing a suit. And I continue to wear suits because it is like Web3 is all about authenticity and doing a lot of work in Korea and stuff. Like there's a strong suit culture. And I kind of feel like my suit is a little bit like my armor and I feel I like it. So that's why I wear it.
How many
But
suits should I
what
bring with
else?
me to Korea?
What was that?
How many suits should I bring with me to Korea?
Well, if you don't I would bring one at least
Okay.
because it is kind of important. But then again, we don't know what we're getting into because it is degen crypto. But I think that even the way Korea does crypto feels very Korean, like very fashion heavy oriented, very,
I have
like
my armor, my suit that I wear at crypto conferences.
I
I
know
have a
you.
unique look.
I think it would be very inspiring. A lot of young people that I talk to, like I'll go to a bar and then I like to make conversations with locals and then I would be talking to them and they recognize I speak English so then they'll be like, "Oh, they immediately want to practice their English." And then we talk in English for a bit and they're immediately talking about their dreams. And I find this to be very beautiful and a lost thing in America where they tell me about their dreams. I want to be a musician and I'm trying to save up and my goal is to play this big show in London. And they tell me all these things and they say it in English much more than they do it in Korean because it's just so natural to think to align freedom and with American culture within that whole independence movement because there's this whole idea of safety in Korea like go to the best university you can get the best job you can be able to provide for yourself and your family and that's very real in America too but as I was growing up a lot of things that people say about Americans is very interesting to me because they'll say like Americans are rude. For example, I've been in martial arts my whole life. I come from four generations of martial artists. And respect is not something that the East brought to the West, in my opinion. Like there was Leave It to Beaver on TV, And there was all of the children I was growing up with. I moved 40 times in my life, but there was a time in my life where I was in Georgia, and you would come in to your friend's house and you enter through the side doorway, and there's a kitchen right there, and then you would like the kids would stand if the parents came in, the kids would stand up and say hello, and I thought there was sir, ma'am, or English words, and it's not it's something that's uh very inherent in the United States, and I think in a to revolt against the current systems that be, we've kind of gone really far into the other direction where we are uh like disrespectful, or we look down on others, or we're like, hey, if you don't get it, you don't get it, which is fine. But the true degens that I've met are what I would call freedom maximalists, and I got this term from a friend, and um I think that term is very powerful because you find people that are basically trying to authentically be themselves, but ironically, even though they're labeled themselves as degen, they're some of the kindest, most respectful people that I've met. And I think that that is like the new America, where like you are completely yourself. You don't need to, suit up and be in Silicon Valley or be in New York. You can be in Montana and you can have the coolest, hottest thing going on. And you can be authentically you. I mean, streamers brought that with Twitch, or like if you're trying to like fit in with the typical, you know, um, gamer or e-girl or whatever, then you don't really get that many followers, or maybe you get some. But if you are truly yourself and you have like your authentic background. This is my real home. This is my real thing. This is how I really play the game. And this is how I really talk. Then people are really excited about that. People are really excited about Cardi B being very refreshingly herself, always on stage. And I think the takeaway is typically wrong. Like people then try copying Cardi B, or they try copying these streamers. And I'm like, that's not the point in Web3. The point is be authentically you. And that is a very difficult challenge is who am I? It's like one of those like old time philosophies of like who am I? And then you're like then you think of the word I, and then what is even I? But that is an important soul searching journey that every person should go through. Whether you read all the religious texts or all the mythology or all of the scientific literature, whatever path helps you find this is me, this is who I am, you should go down that journey and you should try to be authentically yourself, and it's really the things that you have gone through in life that make up who you are. So be that person. Like, don't try to be somebody else. Like, I didn't come into this office and then like stopped, dressing the way I dress, and then started like only wearing hoodies because everyone else in the office wears hoodies. I'm authentically me, and this is who I am. So I think that's really, really important. So like when I'm in Korea and I'm talking to the youngsters, and I'm fairly young myself, but when you go to the bar, typically like drinking age in Korea is like 19 in American age. And then there's a different aging system in Korea. I think they're trying to do away with that now. But what they consider you 1 years old when you're born. But because you kind of like been incubating for 9 months. So they always talk to me about their dreams in English. And I think that is the true new American degen culture where like you are authentically yourself. So yeah, I would say that I don't know what I was talking about, but we said we were talking about a whole lot of nothing, and I think I said a whole lot of something that is nothing, but maybe
I
means something to someone.
I so for me, degen, um, real degens like um there's different levels, there's degenerates, there's dicks. But degen to me is like I sort of see it as what's the word? Like the last Ronin.
Mm,
Everyone's sort of out on their own mission. They pay loyalty to something as long as it honors them. Once
mm,
it stops honoring them, they move on. But it's not because like they grass is greener on the other side.
mm,
It's they don't feel that they're being honored anymore,
mm,
or respected, and so like they're fighting, they're trying to fight that battle of justice in their own heart type of thing. And so and I see that because like, and I'll say this, like some people are with like protocols that are just like sucking up money. You're not making anything, but they're die hard with it, because the founders are active, and they're like, look, I just, we're doing what we have to do. We're grinding it out. Belts are tightened. We had to lay off like half our staff, but we're still writing code, you know, and but then like the moment the founder, dips, and
Mm.
people don't feel that patronage back, that's sort of where they then like, all right, what's next on the horizon, you
Yeah.
know? And we see that a lot within like the token communities and stuff. Yes, people, are by the shiny light of the next thing,
Mm.
like right now, one of my focus is just because it's shiny, and I've been getting bugged by my friend TJ for like a year and a half to deep dive into Telos.
Mhm.
And it took me a year and a half of him bugging me, about Telos for me to finally go deep dive into Telos and meet that community and talk with like some of the foundation, and the foundation was, they hopped on real quick. They're like, it's 3 a.m. Sure, I'll come talk to you. Next thing we know, it's like almost 6 a.m. and they're still talking. And so it's really cool, when you have protocols that have team members that are willing to sit down for some random show called TacoBytes and be like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but let's do it. And it's one of those things that's really, touching and stuff. And so we see this time and time and time and time again,
I think
you
that's
know.
I think it's a good thing, right? I believe that everyone, like when I talk about universal transactions and all this kind of stuff and fixing the fragmentation problem in blockchain, what you will see come from that is not a solidarity. You'll see more innovation. Like that's my whole idea is like there's this premise around choice. And I believe whether you believe you have you're able to have choices or not, that's up to you. That's like a philosophical standpoint. But if we talk about what actually you get to choose, like I'll segue this because what we talk about travel quite a bit. So when people hear about me going to a conference in the United States or overseas, they are immediately like, oh, I want to go to Japan, I want to go to Korea, I want to go to Singapore. And you know, I it's a lot less interesting than you think in certain ways because when I go to a different country, I see a lot of the same. Like if I'm in New York, I see tall buildings and I see franchises and I see like large enterprise companies. When I go to Korea, I see a lot of the same. I also see McDonald's in Korea. I see McDonald's in Singapore. And you get this lack of diversification of things that you can look at. And there's certain like small protected areas, but even those areas are dominated by people that understand business better. So I think that the ability to really have choice is really important. And then if a DJ means to you somebody that follows something ride or die until they feel wronged, I believe that's a very good stance. And it's bad if you feel like if I had been eating Pops cereal for like 20 years and then I'm like feel wronged by them and I go switch over to like Snap Crackle Pop, right, Krispies, whatever. And then I find out that the same company owns like 78, like 80% of this whole cereal aisle. I'm like, I'm given the illusion of choice. And that's really what's going to happen here. Like the unification of blockchain is going to create more protocols, more blockchains, more solutions, more people. When someone says, I don't like your idea, I'm like, great. You should build a company based off ideas you believe in and then have that company there for those. It's your moral obligation. If you are somebody capable of building something and you disagree with how everything else is run, that's how we started. Like, we saw what was there. We disagreed fundamentally on certain things. And we're like, instead of like complaining about it on X, we say, hey, let's build the thing. And then that way, those who think like us have a home to go to. I think it's a moral obligation. So, absolutely. You should definitely only follow, only buy, only build with people that respect you and resonate with you. Regardless of all the cool things I say, and regardless of all the cool things that Wire's going to do in the next coming months, if fundamentally doesn't vibe with you, if you like, what's that one like? It's like Hex or something, or like like not helium. That's the other one. One of these things that are like backed by major companies. If you like that, if that is your speed, if you like that centralization stuff, do it. Like, do it because again, I'm here to educate and you're here to educate. But at the end of the day, I do not want to be any part of anything that strips choice from someone. If you that is ultimately your choice. All most of ancient history, most of mythology, most of religions, like if you look at what is the fundamental key part is you get to choose if you want to go to the left or to the right, that is your choice. Now, the choice becomes not real when it's an illusion. When it's an illusion of choice, it's not really a choice anymore. So, that's what I see it happening like very small ways in blockchain where we're having like group think. Don't group think. Do not group think. Do your own research, think for yourself, decide for yourself, because that's the whole point. Is open sourcing is about independence. Like decentralization is about independence, bringing the powers of many to the individuals. That's the whole point. So if you are just like, what should I buy? What should I do? You just listen to me and you're like, oh, I guess I should get some wire token. Like if that is you, do not be that person. Please. Like
Buy
again,
wire token.
you have the choice to do that if you want to, but for the love of God, do not do that. I highly encourage you to make a choice, a decision of your own thinking. You're sure you can lean on the experience of others, but at the end of the day, you need to decide what's best for you. And martial arts is the same thing. Like there's many different disciplines in martial arts. I particularly like certain disciplines. Do not listen to me. Try them all. Go to all the classes. See which one works with you, which one you like the best. Find a teacher
Wushu.
that you like.
Wushu. That's my jam.
Wushu has a deep and beautiful history. So I
Yeah.
think whatever you like, for example, a lot of people make fun of Tai Chi. If you do Tai Chi and it makes you happy, it gets you out of bed in the day. Because during COVID, where all my businesses were basically like held at a halt, we had ships over in Long Beach, California, where like ramen got spoiled because it was sitting there so long. If everything shuts down and then you come and then you're at a point where I was, and I'm like, I don't want to get out of bed, dude. I don't want to get up. My hair grew really long and not in a cool way, in a very unruly way. And I'm just like, dude, I'm just so over it. What's the point of life? Like, you get really dark really quickly.
I was doing haircuts, but I got a beard.
Hey, I can't
I
grow those, so that's that's not on the
I'll
cards
grow.
for me.
Don't worry, I'll grow mine for you.
Very good. But you got to
Yeah,
find something that gets you out of bed in the day. And for me, that comes to the earlier part of the conversation, which is very simple. You need to figure out who you are, and then that's the version of you that's your degen. Like, what do you stand for? Who are you? Find out who you are. And then number two, what we're talking about right now, find the things that align with who you are truly. And then no matter what, like when I COVID was in certain ways the best thing that ever happened to me because I was given a lot of time, and during that time, I really found out what meant a lot to me and who I am. And that made me there was a certain day where I just woke up and you cry, you pray, you do everything like whatever when you're going through it, you're going through it. And then one day I just like it just stopped. I'm like, "Oh, I know who I am. I know what I want to do. I know I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I know what I want. I know my end goal." So, when that happened for me, every day is good. Like even the days that suck, like we all get them. Like the days that suck, you drop the ball, someone else like betrays you. Like we all know what that's like. But it is the thing that keeps you going. So it doesn't. I never laugh or belittle anyone for anyone's particular purpose. If wood carving's your purpose, if going to the gym and you don't have any particular goal, you're just working out, that makes you get up. I'm all for that. What that leads to into my work is, hey, I'm not here to convince you about wire network. I'm here to tell you that we're building this thing that's going to enable for the future for more innovation, more choice. And people don't like choice. They're like, I just want the thing to decide for me. No, have to make a choice because it's either this or you're choosing not to have freedom. And that is the virus of convenience, as I call it, because you don't buy for yourself anymore. You don't think for yourself anymore. Then what are you? Are you really living life? You're alive, but are you alive? Are you alive but just waiting to, lay in your grave? So for me, it's a big part of every single day, every single conversation. It doesn't matter what it is. I live by a certain philosophy, and I am telling people the truth. And that's really important to me. And if that truth is not their truth, it's not like I hate you, despise you. I'm like, yo, it was so good meeting you. I wish you the best. Let's keep in touch. And I truly mean that. It's not like something I just say. So I'm very passionate about the truth. So,
I think a lot of people too have like the ability to change over time.
oh,
You know,
absolutely.
and so, but there's different types of people out there. Something that you spoke on, really resonated with me. Like, I want to say it was like 2018 or 2019,
Mm,
when Gavin released. Oh man, he might have. I think he released it earlier, but when I heard, um, when Gavin Wood sort of was talking about the Polkadot.js wallet,
mm.
it is the crappiest wallet on the face of the earth. And he said, if you don't like it, build something better.
Mm.
I attempted that. There is now 23 dot lost in the universe, thanks to me trying to build a wallet, thinking I had a wallet figured out, and sending it to me to like go test it out because I thought it was really pretty and really. And nope, I was like, yep, all right, bye. But we see that, as like you were talking earlier, the different languages, you know,
Yes.
having to learn Solidity, having to learn Rust, having to learn JavaScript, C's, and Move, Go, Haskell, and or now new blockchains which are creating their own languages.
Yeah.
We're not even going to talk about what Radix is building. I don't like it's they named their code. It's like they tried to call their code simple in a weird way. Like it's like, but I forget what it's called, and that's how unsimple it is. But and there's Neo blockchain. I think has done one of the coolest things. They rewrote their Genesis block at their last upgrade, 21.
Mm.
Started in 2020, December 2020, I think, and then went until like February of 21, maybe 3 or 4 months of the chain having to repopulate every and rebuild every block. But they made it they made their chain to being able to be smart contracts could be written in like 5 different languages.
Mm.
And that was like one of the first steps. I was like, ooh, not just interoperability, but like multi-language.
Mm.
you know and I could have a Java script call a C function, and the intricacies of it were just really fun, and I just broke a lot of things.
Mm.
I made a lot of things that looked like they would work not work. So I I found, for me, there's so much out there, and people say the same thing to me, like, oh, I wish I could travel like you do. um I'm just a student. I just go to all of these conferences, and I try to talk to every single booth to see what they're building, to see who they are, who their BDs are. And you did make a point earlier, like, to be a BD, you have to be able to like down it like crazy. I don't drink, you know, and so like halfway through the night, like I'm making deals, and I'm thinking like, hell yeah, I'm about to move the universe in a positive direction. Next morning, they're like, I don't remember anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. Um, I do say this, I do pound Red Bull like it is going out of style, you know. And so that is a dangerous habit I have. I know I drink way too much Red Bull. Um, yeah, I
Well,
think
introduced me to OG Red Bull in Korea. The original
the
flavor of Red
gold
Bull
can.
is Bacchus, which is a glass small drink. We'll stop by a convenience store and I'll pick you up some.
Yes,
Now you have
I got my
like
hands on that in Singapore.
nice.
Oh yeah, I was put. And I'm like tiny little cans. I was like, oh, what's this little
Yeah,
I'm like 3 later. The guy's like, no, no, and I'm like, yes, yes, and he's like, no, no, you're good for now. And I'm like, wait, I've only had 3 Red Bulls, sir. This is not cool. I'm gonna go to the next convenience store.
they put a lot of herbs. So there's a concept in Asian culture which is prevention. So we do a lot of preventative medicine. So you take ginseng, which is like for blood flow, circulation, and all that. So when you take it, you'll feel warm when you take it. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yep.
pretty good for you.
It's good. There's some fun things to eat, drink, just see and be a part of. And one of the things, like you were like, I'm a very open person. I talk to a lot of people and I hear their hopes and dreams. Usually like Uber drivers or Grab.
Yeah.
For those that are going to Singapore, and I don't know Korea, but I know Singapore. Singapore doesn't have Lyft or Uber. They have, like Grab and what's the other one? I forget off the top of my head. Um, Grab is there. What
Grab-
about Korea?
So in Korea, if you guys are going to KBW, I would recommend downloading KakaoTalk. A lot of the people and connections that you make there are going to be on KakaoTalk. And
You're going to
KakaoTalk,
send me a link for that, right?
yeah, of course. So on KakaoTalk, there's something that's really important, that the fact that all of our services are integrated with them in there as well. So Uber tried to come into Korea and it was unsuccessful. The taxis lobbied against it, but Korean taxis are actually quite sophisticated and very fairly priced. So you go into a Korean taxi, you'll have a little card. So when you land in the Incheon, then you'll go to like the convenience store and you'll get one of these cards. So I don't have it on me right now, but you get a little card from the gas station. It has probably some like cartoon characters on it, and you put it onto the scanner, and then it's like a little pad. You put it on top, and then you hand them. Hopefully, you got some currency exchange, and you hand them, let's say, a few hundred Korean won. So, and then that money will go into this card. Now, this card can be used for public transportation. So, if you're going to the subway, you just tap it and you're able to walk through. If you go onto a taxi, you can tap it onto the taxi and then it'll pay for your taxi ride. If you are riding the Korean taxis, and which are all over the place and they're easy to get, you just hail them down like a normal cab. They also take your card. So, if you have a Visa MasterCard, then they'll be able to charge you there as well. So it's actually
Phone
very
tapping?
to get around Korea.
Phone tapping?
No phone tapping.
No phone tapping.
Mm.
Okay.
If you have a Samsung, there is phone tapping in like convenience stores and stuff like that, but not for the taxi.
Okay. Yeah, definitely Samsung. I'm a definite Samsung guy.
Yeah,
I have one iPhone, and I use that only for Twitter Spaces.
interesting.
Yeah, that's it. Because the what's really hilarious is when you open a Twitter Space on an iPhone, you can have waiting music, lobby music playing.
Mm, that's cool.
In Android, they don't have that.
Mm. Well, there are several cool phones if you're interested in phones. There was a company, I don't know if they're still in business, called Prism, that created a open source phone that basically is a computer the size of your hand, and it can actually, if you plug into a monitor and a keyboard, you can use it like a computer. So that's pretty cool. They have like they paint the screws with fingernail polish to prevent intervention when they're shipping the phone to you. Like if
Yeah.
they intercept it and like change out the parts or whatever, you'll know that it hasn't been tampered. So that's really cool. Korea is coming out with a lot of cool phones, and for myself, even though I work in technology quite a bit, I would say that my lifestyle is pretty low tech. A lot of the things that I enjoy doing when I'm not working don't revolve around technology. Like I'm a big person. I like tea a lot. So we have a lot of tea time at my house, and we do tea time. I like to read a lot. I'm old school. I like to read the physical books.
Mhm.
And typically, I'm reading about things that interest me that have nothing to do with my work. Or sometimes I want to prepare for something, so then I do read more into like Web3 related text. But I have a things that motivate humankind are very interesting to me. So reading about psychology and religion and mythology and these things are very interesting to me. They don't have that much practical use in my day to day, but it does. It's just something that I can't stop having interest in. Is what motivates people, like what has motivated society for a very long time. And that's why the whole AI agent economy thing is really cool to me because I'm like, what are people gonna want? What are people gonna ask for? There's this general consensus that the world's gonna fall apart without order. But I think people actually desire a balance and they desire order. I know I do well with the schedule. So I think that it will be a lot more innovative. And of course, there'll be some crazy stuff that's happening, but people tend to um, create order for themselves in their own lives. So very interested in seeing what comes out of that.
Yeah. Um, have you read or watched the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell?
I haven't actually.
So he you that add that sort of like that brings the mythology, religion, and all of that sort of into one thing. Joseph Campbell. This was a yeah. Um, it's you might like it. It's an interesting thing. The hero's mask, yeah, or no, the hero's journey. Um, and I remember this as a young one.
I
One of the
my Amazon cart, so I'll be reading it hopefully on my flight over.
heck yeah, man, I'm flying. Are you flying? How are you flying to Korea? Are you
Yeah.
flying from Florida to Dallas to Korea?
So I'm flying from Florida to Atlanta to Korea, and then from Korea to Singapore, Singapore back, and then back to Atlanta, I believe.
Okay, I'm doing a direct flight from Dallas to Korea to Singapore,
Nice.
Korea. You know, so yeah, I'll be spending a lot of time
Yeah.
in Seoul.
Yeah, if you guys are thinking about going to Korean Blockchain Week and Token 2049, it's a lot better to fly in and out of Korea because flying from Singapore all the way back to the United States is a
A
journey.
long flight.
Your
That
body
is,
will hurt, be disoriented. You'll need like a week of sleep when you get back. It's like a 26 plus hour journey. If you're doing more layovers, it could be easily 32 plus. So
yep.
yeah.
It 20-hour flight, 28-hour flight from Dallas to Singapore, and that was with a 90-minute layover in San Fran.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, um, yeah, and then same flight backwards. So it was very interesting. Um, leaving, yeah. Um, but man, so what? Okay, do you buy shit coins?
I personally don't buy a lot of shit coins, but those in our office are quite the holder of a lot of shit coins.
So I heard I don't buy a lot of them. That means you buy some of them.
Yeah, I mean, I buy well, anytime we partner with people and that they have a token out, I typically am a holder of that token. And the way I buy things is I'm not like some of the people that we work with are really big into the meme coins.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, like if I know someone from that project and I think what they're doing is really cool, then I'll buy the token regardless. I bought some token and I put like I think I bought it quickly, so I put a couple $100 into it and maybe it's worth like $80 right now. I'm fine with it. I don't care. Like for me, it's about the community and it's about like supporting my friends. So that's kind of like my like shitcoin purchasing is if I have a friend that has a new startup and no one knows about their token, I'll just buy some. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah. Oh man, I do that too, but I do that a lot.
Yeah.
What was the last thing you bought on Solana?
Mm, I don't remember. I have a good chunk of Sol, but I haven't bought many things on Solana.
Have you bought any taco token?
No, do you have a token?
I'm a taco. Of course I have a token. I have a token on like every chain.
Well, let
I have
me.
on Polygon. No. So I made one of the funnest tokens I made. I made an IQC, an inner or no, IC. I made an ICQ with Axelar, an interchain quest token.
Oh,
So it's
cool.
on 10 chains. The liquidity is on Polygon. Free taco from Twitter jail.
I just found a taco on Solana, so I'll be sure to either
It's
pair.
4WE. It's still on pump. Well, no, there's a couple different tacos. Yeah.
Really?
I have a
Well,
couple
send me
different
the
tacos on Solana.
well, send me the correct one, and then I'll be a holder of taco token for sure.
Nice. Yeah, no, let's see here. What else do we got going on? Oh man, we've covered a lot, man. This has been fun.
It's been really fun for me. I've been enjoying my time immensely.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap this up. People got to sleep. We have 113 people watching us live on Twitter videos for some reason. Hi. We've had a bunch of people hop through the Twitter space. We've had a bunch of people come through Twitch, through YouTube. I've gotten a couple notifications on LinkedIn and stuff. People are saying hi. Shout out to all of you. I apologize I don't call you all out when it's all happening and when you're manifest.
Hey, let's get it.
Yeah, but this has been an so Mag, never seen this show before, have you?
No, I haven't. I heard you talk about it. It's my first time seeing it and being on it at the same time.
Yes. So
You know?
that means you get to leave the same way everyone leaves. 731 times we've ended the show the same exact way. With words of wisdom, and I have the greatest, worst knock joke on the face of the planet.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So first off, because you're a guest, 10 seconds. Final thoughts and words of wisdom.
Know who you are and only do what you believe in. And it's okay if you're stuck in something that you don't believe in, but don't stay stuck there too long. Life is long, and life is also short at the same time. So if you're in a position where you're thinking, oh, I'm not doing this fast enough, I wasted time in the last 20 years or anything like that, know that life is really long. A lot of young people tend to freak out about life too much, and you will go through it and you will figure it out. And at the same time, life is short. So capture every important moment with a loved one is maybe the last interaction or the last several interactions that you have. So really know who you are and really work on things that resonate with what you believe in. Be a true degen, and I hope that resonates with all of you there. So that's my 10 seconds words of wisdom.
All right. My words of wisdom are always the same. A closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth. Meaning, if no one knows you're looking for opportunity, opportunity can never come a knocking. If opportunity does come knocking and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. I want to thank everyone for joining us for TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode number 732 with Magnus from Wire Blockchain. Please give them a like, follow him. He's up on stage with me right now on Twitter. Check him out. Check out Wire. Wire Blockchain and see what they're building. They're doing some really cool stuff. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Everyone on LinkedIn, Player One Taco, YouTube, 0xDegens YouTube, Twitch, Twitter video, Rumble, Kick, on chain on Base via Unlonely, and on chain via Solana, thanks to Filecoin and Soul Media Tech. Magnus, this has been an awesome time. We get to now leave with the greatest, worst knock joke on the face of the planet. It's done out of honor of those that have come before us and respect for those that come after us. Are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
Knock.
Who's there?